Climbing device number 1, assess your organization. I think this is probably the most critical thing that you will encounter in your journey to SD-WAN. It is a transformation of your team. Cloud and all the services associated with it are changing the way IT was done. In the past, it was a very siloed approach. You had a gentleman that did networking, you maybe had a lady that did servers, and maybe somebody else that did storage, and they all kind of had to work together in succession. In cloud, that's no longer the case. You have to be competent in each one of those areas to understand how an application is put together, how an application performance is impacted by the decisions you make in cloud, in IaaS. You also have to be understanding of the network. If you're deploying a SaaS application, how do you know that it's not the network or the SaaS application, or the SaaS application has some back-end job, some SQL query that's causing everything to slow down? These are the critical things that you need to understand. And when you build out your team, they're going to have to change the ways they operate, and they're going to have to operate together. So start with your organization. This is another critical piece. This is from Gartner. 96% of IO teams are not ready for cloud. This is something really to pay attention to, because this team dynamics will sink or make your project successful. So pay attention to that. The next piece is very important too. You guys are all leaders. You're all the people that everyone looks to make decisions, to set the tone, to make people successful. Leadership in a digital age isn't command and control. It's no longer you tell somebody what to do and then they do it. You actually have to build teams. And these teams are not teams that are formed for a long period of time. These are teams that are formed for a reason, for a short period of time, and then they reform into other teams. A great book, if you want to check it out, read it, is called Stanley McChrystal's Team of Teams. It is mind-changing, and he tells the story about how they were working in Iraq to find all the terrorists in Iraq, and the approach they were using in the past was very command and control. And until they kind of changed this team of teams approach, that was really the main difference. It is also true in business as well. So as we move into this cloud era. So evolution of infrastructure teams. This is kind of how we are situated today at Columbia. We are asked to do a lot of projects. And as a result of those projects, it bites into our ability to keep the lights on within our teams. So we made a conscious decision about 12 months ago to divide our teams in two, with one team focused on production, keep the lights on, and another team focused on projects. And the reason for doing that is to cap out the capacity. But when we built that team, that group, we also added in some other aspects of it. We decided to move to more of an agile approach, so adopt some of the philosophies of DevOps, focused on partnering, and then automation came in. But as we moved into the future, as cloud becomes more of a reality and more of our applications move out of our data center, that's just not going to work. So we're starting to explore, what does that team look like in the future? How do we evolve it and constantly keep adjusting our course of action? So future looks more like this. We're going to be more focused on changing some of these engineers into systems reliability engineers. They will be focused on keep the lights on. They won't be focused on a single application. They'll be focused on multiple applications and being moved throughout the organization, almost like a guild, you could say, of professional engineers. The second group is going to be more of your infrastructure software engineers. Key word here, not infrastructure engineers, infrastructure software engineers. Software is eating the world, and that is so true in infrastructure these days. So when you talk to your engineers as they're coming up in the organization, they want to be software competent. They want to be able to write code. They want to understand automation is absolutely critical to them. Additionally, as I mentioned, they want to be more than just a network engineer or a platform engineer or a storage engineer. They want to be basically competent in all these different areas. That's how they will be successful. And the other piece is they need to become almost tech evangelists. They need to understand the technology. They need to be able to translate the technology into business outcomes. So just focusing in deep into the technology won't be enough for these people. They really need to become almost like a BA, a business analyst with deep technical skills. So that will help them be successful, because no longer will that technology be within the data center. They're not going to be building servers. They're going to be actually deploying these applications and translating, what these SaaS applications do for the business. So, yeah.
Question about that.
Yeah.
When you moved from your previous infrastructure team to the 2018 to 2020X version, did you have to go to keep the lights on and project focus? Did you have to add people, or did you just kind of reassign people? You find that you were doing less to keep the lights on because now there's less data center stuff, and so those people would become project focused?
Yeah, our approach was really to keep the same level of staff. It wasn't to augment our staff. Our challenge was really the technical debt. So over time, because we were so focused on projects, things kind of didn't get taken care of in the way they could. A great example of that is we had a technology called OTV. I'm familiar with this one. Basically, it's a technology that stretches VLANs between data centers. Originally was designed or brought into the organization because the server team wanted to move servers between data centers for DR purposes without changing IP addresses. So we brought in this technology. It worked, sort of. About every 8 or 9 months, we would have an outage. Because basically what would happen in one data center would transfer into the next data center. But we didn't really have a lot of time to fix it. And it was only until we did a focused effort to fix that were we able to kind of resolve that, and we've fixed it since then. But it builds up over time. If you don't keep up to date on your patches, you don't keep up to date on your VMware, these things build over time and they cause outages. So we've been very cognizant on making sure the Keep the Lights On team is focused on that and also resolving tickets, but also really being very regimented with the business and saying we only have so much capacity, because we understand everything's a priority one in terms of a project, but we can only do so much. So does that sort of answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Yes.
John, did you have any attrition, and to what extent you brought people from the outside?
We did have a slight amount of attrition. But basically what we did is sometimes those were senior level engineers. We made a conscious decision to not backfill that with a senior level engineer. We basically went to our leadership and said, hey, we have a great opportunity here to bring in some young folks into the organization, or some folks that don't have a lot of experience. So we would basically take that senior level engineer or senior level platform person and trade them for 2 young people. We had a really good success on our network team doing that. One of our senior engineers, he got a great opportunity at another company, left us. We brought in 2 young people. One of them was just recently discharged from the Air Force. Just a little bit of infrastructure technology knowledge. Another lady that we brought in, she had just started her classes at when it was in Mount Hood Community College, CCNA training. So we brought them in, and we've also created this environment of mentoring. All the senior engineers, one of the most important things they can do is mentor a young person or somebody new to the organization. Within 3 or 4 months, we had these 2 engineers that we recently brought onto the team. They were deploying SD-WAN to our European organizations. And it got to the point where they were so competent in the technology that one of the CCIE resources, he's a super smart guy, he got to the point where he was, I don't know, jealous maybe, but he was very interested in what they were doing. And so they were deploying this location in Germany and as a joint team. And they were on a WebEx, and they started to kind of argue amongst themselves about the next step. And the CCI was adamant that he had the right answer to the problem. Whereas the other 2 were like, no, we've done this before. So he finally relented and found out that he was wrong about the situation. So these people, had been in the job for maybe 6 months, worked on this new technology, a much simpler technology, basically schooled the CCIE. So it's an evolution. So keep that in mind. Team is so important. culture is so important with your teams. That will make you successful.